we have 9 and 9. At this point, you can identify it as a perfect square, PS it, or you can continue on, and you can just write 9. After that one, we have 49. What are some factors of 49, Jaquan? Yep, 7 and 7. Box it in. We end up with 7. And then I'd want you to write PS next to it, just so I know that you know. Okay, after this one, we have negative 3 squared. What's negative 3 squared? Or it's going to be a positive 9. Yep, positive 9, because negative 3 times negative 3 makes a positive. And then we have 4 squared, which is 16. What is 9 plus 16? 25. And then I know that you know this is a, yep, 5 PS. And then after this, we have 5 squared, which is 25, plus negative 2 squared, which is 4. What is 25 plus 4? 29. Do you guys have any factors of 29 that you know? Probably not. Square root of 29. On our next one, if I have an eraser, I use this since I have not taught you the distance formula. That's what's coming today. And we can graph it on our actual coordinate plane. So I'm going to write it up here. So our first points, we have 1, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's A. And then 1, negative 2. That's B. What's the distance from A to B? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So your distance is 6. Over here, we have 3 negative 1. So 3, negative 1. That's A, or that's C. And then negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 1. That's D. Okay? Our distance from C to D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Distance of 8. This works on a graph because they are horizontal and vertical lines. There's no slope with them, so we can just calculate it that way. Today we're going to learn a different way of calculating that. Are you guys okay if I switch our slide? Okay. We have our objective on this page, 4.4. We're doing the Pythagorean Theorem and the distance formula. To find the side length of triangles and the distance between points is what we're talking about today. So put that objective up there. No, I didn't write objective, but please try to put it up there. So our vocab here is the Pythagorean Theorem on this slide. Yep, it should just be, I'm going to skip the puzzle, guys. We're going to skip the puzzle. If you go down to Pythagorean Theorem, you're going to fill out the Pythagorean Theorem first. Let me undo that. Okay, Pythagorean Theorem. That's this one. And then on the back of your page, you have the distance formula. And that's this one. So you're filling out both of them right now on both sides. Pythagorean Theorem on the front, the green, and the distance formula on the back, the yellow. So our first one up is the Pythagorean Theorem. And a right triangle, the square of the length of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the legs' lengths. We've seen this symbol before, but I'll draw it out with a triangle. You see that that's the right angle there. C is your hypotenuse. A and B are your legs. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Remember, your hypotenuse is the side opposite of the right angle. It's the longest side in a right triangle. Okay, so I think that you guys have these on your page. So what is our hypotenuse in this first one? Side opposite of your right angle is C. So we have C squared equals my 2 legs, 10 squared, plus 24 squared. What is 10 squared? What's 24 squared? It is. That's a fact. 576. Okay, we are going to combine those two. 676. Okay. 676. Okay, so what is the square root of both of those sides? We got to get C by itself. And what'd you get? 26. Do you see that again? That's a perfect square. Your answer is 26. Thank you, ma'am. What'd you say? Oh, I thought you had a question. Okay, after that, yeah. Which one's your hypotenuse here? Same in each of them. It's the c squared, side opposite of your right angle, longest side in the right triangle. Then we have 7 squared plus 7 squared. What's 7 squared? 49 plus 49. What's 49 plus 49? 98. Factors of, well, we're going to square root both sides to get c by itself. What are factors of 98? So we know it's even. 7 and 14. Okay, factors of 14. 2 and 7. Which ones have buddies? 7. So remember, the buddies come out. If it doesn't have a buddy, stays locked up. That's the 2. Okay, after that, we have the third one. Hypotenuse, again, is the side opposite of your right angle, the longer side. So that's c squared. What are our two legs? 14 and 9. Yep, 14 and 9. So 9 squared plus 14 squared. What's 9 squared?
81.
What's 14 squared? 196. We're going to add those two together. $277. To get c by itself, we've got to square root. So, do we know any factors of 277? We could try for a while, but there's none really. We're going to leave it as the square root of 277. Okay, so now it's kind of going backwards. We have the hypotenuse, and we're trying to find a leg. So what's my hypotenuse in this first one? 23. So 23 squared equals 11 squared plus b squared. What's 23 squared? 529. 11 squared? 121. Okay, what do we have to do to get b by itself? We're eventually going to square root. We got to do one thing first.
Subtract 121.
Subtract first, yep. So we end up with 408 equals b squared. And now what are we going to do? Square root it. So we have 8 and 51. Factors of 8. 2 and 4. Factors of 4. 2 and 2. Factors of 51. It has a factor. Yep, 3 and 17. Okay, ones that have buddies. What? Yep, the 2s. So the 2 comes out. What doesn't have buddies get multiplied together. So that's going to be 2 times 3 times 7. What's 2 times 3 times 7? Oh, 17. Woo. 17. Thank you. 102? So 2 square root of 102. Our next one up, we have hypotenuse again. We're looking for a leg. So we end up with 11.9 squared equals 8.4 squared plus a squared. This is one you're not going to be able to do a factor tree because of the decimal points. So you're going to have to use a calculator for this. What is 11.9 squared? You said it was 170.
141.
Oh, 141. Okay, sorry. 141.61 equals, what did you get for 8.4 squared? 70.56. If you can see my decimal point. Plus a squared. We got to subtract over that 70.56. Okay, what do I get? 71.05 you said? Okay, we got to square root both sides. Since this is to the tenths, each of them have one decimal point. You're going to round to the one decimal place here. What is it? 71? Square rooted? So we're square rooting that 71.05. And what do we get?
8.429.
8.4. Okay, so we're going to leave it as A equals 8.4. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, and then our last one of this group, we have our hypotenuse of 26 squared equals my two legs of 24 squared plus A squared. What's 26 squared? We just did this one on our last one. 676 equals, what's 24 squared? 576 plus A squared. Subtract over that 576. What do you get? 100. Should I make that look more like 100? Equals A squared. Square root both sides. What do you get? A equals 10. Nice job, guys. This is Pythagorean triples. A Pythagorean triple are integer triples that satisfy the Pythagorean theorem. So integer means that they're going to be whole numbers, positive or negative, but you're not going to have decimal points with them, right? No square roots. So one of the most famous versions of this is 3, 4, 5. And what it's saying is if you did 3 squared plus 4 squared, it'll equal 5 squared. And we see that that's true. 9 plus 16 equals 25. So all of those are whole numbers. We have a couple other famous ones. Does anybody want to try to tell me one? You can try it out, or do you want me to just give them to you? Okay, so I'll give you some. We have 5, 12, 13. We have 7, 24, 25. We have 8, 15, 17. 9, 40, 41. We have 11, 60, 61. So with any of these, if you did A squared plus B squared equals C squared, it's going to hold true. Yes, ma'am. It should be on 11 and 60. I'll move it over here. 11, 60, 61. So if we tried those out, you'd see that they'd all work. I will tell you that this is going to come back. Eventually I'm going to ask you about it, so you might want to figure out your favorite. 3, 4, 5 generally is one people remember well. Okay, so we're going to go through and just identify x1 and y1. So x1, y1, first ordered pair, x2, y2, and now we're going to substitute in. So you have the distance from, this one's not A to B, it's K to L. Remember when we talk about distance, we don't put a line over it. So by leaving it like that tells us that's the distance. We square root, and then you have y2. What's my y2? Or x2, I mean? 4 minus negative 1. And then what's my y2? 2 minus negative 2, quantity squared. Okay, so inside here we end up with 4 minus negative 1, which is 5. So we have 5 squared plus 2 minus negative 2. Yep, 4 squared. So we now have 25 plus 16. What's 25 plus 16? 41. And we see that 41 is not going to factor, so your distance is the square root of 41. So I have B, which is negative 2, 4. I have A, which is 3, negative 1. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Okay, so we now go over here. We have distance from A to B is the square root of. And then we have x2. What's my x2? We can do it that way. Negative 2. So as long as we start with the ones that you said. Yep. So negative 2 minus. Then what's my x2? Or x1? 3 squared. Okay, plus. And then now, since we started with negative 2, we know 4 is going to be our y. And then minus negative 1. Quantity squared. So negative 2 minus 3 is? Negative 5 squared. Negative 4 minus negative 1, which is? Yep. So we end up with 5 squared plus 5 squared, which is 25 plus 25. Square root of? Okay, we're running out a little bit of space. You know I write big. I'm going to move it up top so you can see the factoring. So we have the square root of 50. Okay, factors of 50. Yep, 2 and 25. 25 when it goes to 5 and 5. What has a buddy? The 5. 5 comes out. What doesn't have a buddy? 2 stays locked up. Okay, let's have you guys try our second one. So take a second and try to solve that one. Okay, so Jasmine, what did you do? -2 minus 5. Okay, and then 5 minus 5. Nice job. Okay, what did you get for -2 minus 5? 7. So you have 7 squared. What did you get for 5 minus 5? Yep. So you end up with the square root of 49. Factors of 49. 7 and 7. Our answer is 7. This one again was like that first one. You could have actually just counted over. I didn't want you to do that, but you can verify it this way. I wanted you to use that distance formula just like she did. And you see that that's true because since it's a horizontal line, we can verify it. Okay, and then our last one here, you have E, -4, -2, F, H, 2. Would anybody else like to work us through this one? Okay, so we're going to go our X first. Which X do we want to use? Okay, so what's our X2? Yep, 4 minus -4, quantity squared, plus,
2 minus -2 squared.
so yep, 2 minus -2.
8 squared.
Yep.
4 squared.
Hold on, say it again.
8 squared plus 4 squared.
Oh, yep. So he did the next step for me. So we have 8 squared plus 4 squared,
4 plus 16.
64 plus 16.
8.
Okay, I'm going to catch up to him. Square root of 80. I'm going to bring that up top so you guys can see it out back. So we have the square root of 80. What are some factors of 80? 8 and 10. Factors of 8? 4 and 2. Factors of 4? Factors of 10? Okay, things that have buddies. 2? 2. 2 times 2 is? What doesn't have a buddy? Okay, 4 square root of 5.